Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse pregame show with George and Quis of Sports Vibes TV. Thanks you guys for joining us. We are here to preview basically the weekend, pretty much. But we're going to focus on the Rockets game, and we have a couple interesting topics. One of them is whether this year's starting five could beat last year's starting five. So we're going to discuss that, and we're going to look ahead at the upcoming schedule, which is pretty rough. We have our first back-to-back with an away. Actually, it's not our very first back-to-back. It's our second back-to-back, but it's the first one with the away game. And we have the Lakers coming up. We have a bunch of good teams coming up. It's going to be a tough stretch. It's going to be a tough stretch. How you doing, Keith?
I'm good, George. Thank you for having me on. Ready to talk some Knicks. This is a game where, we should be looking towards the end of the evening celebrating. I think this is going to be one of those get right games. So happy to be here and talk about it with you.
Oh, awesome. I love the optimism. Loving it.
George, I mean, look at the Rockets. If we lose, it's time to sound the alarm, and I don't think we're there, not at this moment. So I'm pretty optimistic about this game.
Yeah, I think if we lose this game, well, I mean, what can we say? I mean, we've dropped two to the Magic, so anything can happen.
Yeah, but the Rockets are on a different, or even on an even lower level. So, I mean, yeah, the Magic, they have some talent. You look at the Rockets, KPJ, he's day to day, so he may not play. So I think we have a pretty good shot of winning this game. Of course, we got to go out there and perform, but I'm optimistic, George.
I'm optimistic as well. I'm generally the optimistic one of of our group.
Syndicate.
Yeah, of the syndicate. But that being said, I gotta say, my confidence has been rattled a little bit, and I'll jump into that more specifically. Just want to show this post this tweet that Tommy Beer put out today. Remarkably, through their first 15 games this season, the Knicks are 6-2 versus teams at or above 500, and 2-5 versus teams with a record below 500. What's your feeling about that in general, Keith? And welcome to the chat, everybody. Welcome. We're just getting going right now.
I think you look at the Knicks, and it's unfortunate to say this, but I think we tend to play up to our competition and down to teams that aren't really in the same stratosphere. You mentioned it at the start of the show. We've already lost twice to the Orlando Magic. And I think this team, especially at home, and looking at a team tonight that is far below 500, we just have to come out and punch them in the mouth like we did against the Orlando Magic the first contest, where we came, let them know that the Magic weren't in the same class as us, and it seems like that's pretty much the only game. At 2-5, who was the other win against the sub 500 team? It's the Magic, and let me see.
The other sub 500
is it Charlotte? No, Charlotte is 7-6. Detroit. Yeah. So, I mean, those are two teams we should have beaten, and the other 5 losses are probably games we should have won. If we would have won, let's say we would have been slightly above 500 in those games, look at where we would have been in the Eastern Conference. So this is a part of the season where we should be picking up wins and not allowing teams that are inferior to us to kind of come away victorious, especially at home. And I got to keep saying that time and time again, because this team has to show more effort out there on our home court and not allow teams to beat us and leave uttering that stupid phrase, which is stupid now, that bing bong. Tired of them trying to jeer us with that little thing that they got going around nowadays.
I've hated that bing. First of all, I never even got it to begin with when it first happened. I was like, why are they celebrating this win against the Magic?
So it's cool to celebrate, but I don't understand.
I know, but like that.
Well, no, that was
they were celebrating game. Like we beat.
They said the bing bong in the Celtics. You mean when the Magic did it against us?
Yeah. No, when we did it against the Magic, it was repeated, the bing bong, and that's how it became. I think that's why the Magic were pissed, because remember they were celebrating outside of the Magic arena.
Well,
There was that little group.
I think the first time they said the Celtics were, I mean, the first time they said Big Bang was the Celtics game and the home opener.
Yeah.
They said it again when we beat Orlando.
Yeah, there was a group of Knicks fans that were dancing outside the arena after the game, and someone uttered "Bing Bong" or someone tweeted out "Bing Bong" or whatever as to turn it into a thing. And it like Still Dre says, yeah, it's corny. It's corny.
Yeah.
It's totally corny crap. Totally corny crap. Let's see. Let's all right, let's look at some stats here of these two squads that we got here. One thing is I've watched several Rockets games just out of curiosity. How about you?
I watched a few. I got Jalen Green in fantasy, so I jump around the league, check up on my guys, make sure
you're
they're
a fantasy hoe.
It's what I turn to when the Knicks aren't doing well, man.
Oh yeah.
If the Knicks aren't playing great basketball, then I have to, when their game is done, go look at my fantasy players and see how they're doing. I'm always in GM mode. Always in GM mode.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, here we got some nice stats here to look at. The Houston Rockets, they don't even score 101 points per game. Our points per game has dropped dramatically. We were at about 111 not that long ago. Now we're down to 107.7. The rebounds are pretty almost even. We are averaging more assists lately, actually, and lately it's been ticking up slightly, which is a really good sign. That I'm happy about. The steals, they got more steals. We're winning the blocks competition there. Turnovers, I mean, we've been pretty decent. We're one of the top 5 or 6 teams in fewest turnovers. Unfortunately, the last game, that's what killed us against the Magic. I rewatched that first quarter. Those 6 turnovers were horrible. And actually, I think what it does is it totally throws the team out of their flow, any flow that they might possibly be developing. And I think that's really been killing that first unit a lot.
I mean, turnovers was an issue in the first quarter and in the fourth. Practically gave the game away. IQ had a bad turnover. Derrick Rose, when we were within 4, could have got their lead to either 1 or 2. Gave that up. So turnovers have been an issue. At times, it's not the amount of turnovers; it's when we get the turnovers that kind of put us in a rut.
Exactly. Those 3 stats at the bottom are kind of curious. You would think the young Rockets with those legs would be crushing us on fast break points. But no, we're beating them on fast break points and about even in second chance points. But look at points in the paint; they're up by 4. So they average 48 points in the paint per game. We average 44. So things have really turned for these Knicks in terms of how they score.
Yeah, our shots not falling. I mean, you like to see us getting more points in the paint, especially when we've been shooting so poorly from the 3. That's what I keep trying to say. We should need to attack the paint. When the shot's not falling, there's going to be games like that. But when we aren't hitting our shots, you're not going to continue to keep chucking up bad ones. You need to get into the paint, get to the foul line, try to get into a rhythm that way if the shot isn't dropping.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And the biggest culprit to that last game was Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Took 11 shots, only 1 2-pointer. So how can you win the points in the paint war battle if your number 1 guy is just, chucking up threes all game long?
And a lot of them weren't even in rhythm. A lot of them were like off a jab step, take a couple seconds and then pull up. I'm like, what you doing, Randall? Move the ball around.
Yeah, I really watched that first quarter. I suggest everybody watch it because of the Orlando game. It really kind of reveals all the little teeny mistakes that the team is making. For example, there was a play where Fournier, because Fournier he's struggling, he's trying to get himself off, and to a good start, and he does a little curl, and in the curl, Randall jumps to the 3-point line, and there's that half second where actually Fournier has a couple of options. He has Randall behind him, and to his right, on the right elbow, I believe it was RJ. Could have been Kemba, not sure, but wide open because he curled. He was entering the paint, and the paint was collapsing around him. And instead of looking for the open guy, he forced the shot, and it was a miss. Rockets get the rebound. Magic get the rebound, race up the court, and it was an easy bucket for them. Then there was another play, a similar play where Julius, instead of hitting RJ in the corner, he does the jab step that you were talking about, jab, 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 and he launches the three. They actually were able to get that ball back, but still, that was not a good shot. It's not a good look.
Mm-hmm. Not a good
They're
look.
looking, yeah, they're not playing on a string on the offensive end, where that ball is just moving all the way around and just making the defense work hard as can be to stop the possession. Instead, they're making it life easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Christian Wood, who a lot of Knicks fans were thinking about maybe we should have gone after him. I don't know if any of us were on board with that, but he's a nice player.
I did a realistic rebuild where I went after Christian Wood, not this offseason, but the previous offseason. Yeah,
the previous one. He's interesting. I think he's a good offensive player.
Yeah, grabs you some rebounds, blocks some shots. He's a good piece.
He's a good piece. Look at Randall, man. Our all NBA second teamer is averaging less than 20 points per game. I got to say,
I would have liked him. If he would have averaged 6 assists per game, I would have lived with him having under 20. Because I think coming into the season, I said we were going to see some sort of regression from Julius Randle. I just didn't think it would be him, regressing due to poor play. I thought it would be because the players in that starting lineup were going to step up and take some of the burden off of him. So I figured there would be a dip in his numbers. I just didn't know it would be because he's not able to gel with the starting lineup. That's something I wasn't able to foresee.
Yeah. It's really kind of a shocker, actually.
You mentioned it in the group chat.
Yeah. You know what he's averaging? He's averaging from 16 feet out. 26.5%. That's nasty. He was, and the 10 to 16 foot shot, which was his money shot on the right baseline. Bread and butter, 32.4%. Last season he was the number one scorer in the entire NBA from there. So you can see there's some real issues in the way Randall is looking to manufacture offense. He has to rethink his approach. And I like that one game when he was remember we talked about this, where he just took it straight to the cup. And he dunked, I think, at least 3 or 4 times in that game. That aggression is gone again. Now, I know Magic they have a lot of long players and they're really good at blocking. Maybe that's what kind of made
front
him
court between Wendell Carter Jr. and Bamba.
Yeah. What do you think is really happening with Julius?
I think he's trying to force the issue at times when the team isn't gelling. And then we saw, I don't know what was going on in the Orlando Magic game for him not to really look for his shot or try to get into the paint and attack and just chuck up a bunch of threes. That was a weird strategy. I would have liked to see him be a little bit more involved in attacking, but I think I mentioned it on Twitter. I like when Julius Randle and Evan Fournier kind of work in a 2-man game when they're trying to run pick and rolls or dribble handoffs. We're able to get some good looks. I think you mentioned that Fournier kind of forced the shot, but you did mention that there were a couple players open on that play. And you can see when we do run those, pick and rolls with Fournier, with Randle, we consistently get good looks. So I would like for Tibbs to kind of, call those plays out there. We talked on another pregame about Derrick Rose saying that the Knicks were running a lot more set plays, and we saw that towards the start of that first quarter. But I want to see Tibbs go out there, take the ball from Julius Randle's hands, and have the point guard like a Kimba, or even put D Rose in there, run the offense, see if that helps things a little bit. But if Julius Randle is going to be the one to set the table for our offense, then I want to see him work more so with Evan Fournier. I think those two, once they get it together, we'll see more positive results. And if you remember, this team was deadly when Julius Randle and Reggie Bullock were clicking. That's when we saw a lot of our magic, whether it was Julius Randle creating space for Reggie Bullock, finding him in the corner, knocking down threes. If we can have that same sort of chemistry between Julius Randle and then add on top of that, Evan Fournier's playmaking skills, I think this team, this offense will start to gel. It's taking a little bit too long. I wouldn't even say a little bit. It's taking a long time for them to kind of figure it out. I know RJ mentioned last year it took them a long time as well, but last year we weren't as talented, so we were willing to wait a little bit longer. We really didn't know what we had on this roster. This season, we know what the majority of this team can do. And now we thought we brought in 2 talented pieces to help get us past the first round and into the second round. And for them to come out and look the way they have to start the season, I think is something that they're going to have to figure out as soon as possible, because time's ticking. You mentioned at the top of the show, we have a very tough schedule after this weekend that we have to look ahead to.
Very tough schedule. It's a brutal schedule, man. Maximum Buga, he wrote, he's still starting to figure out his spots and not interrupt Kemba and Fournier and RJ. That ain't easy to do, and he just needs to learn to sacrifice for a win. He got it. He just one step away. Yeah, I mean that's basically what's happening there. It's here's the thing that I find so bizarre about this. Like you pointed out, he had a nice chemistry with Reggie last season. Well, that first game against the Celtics, it was all Randall, Fournier, 2-man game from the fourth, the last few minutes of the fourth through the overtimes.
OT.
Yeah, they had figured. I thought, wow, this is great. They figured. And really, what's so hard about figuring that out? It's a screen.
Right. You have 2 small game players.
They've been playing. They've been doing this for, I mean, like half their lives. I mean, with different players, but it's not like it's that unique what they're doing. So it might be the lack of touches, because Fournier mentioned this in not the most recent pregame, but a couple of or post games, maybe about a week back. He was saying he doesn't think that enough of the players, the starters, are getting touches, and that makes a little bit of sense, because Fournier is a guy who's used to having the ball in his hand, right? Kemba's a guy who's used to having the ball in his hand, and then Randall became used to having the ball in his hand last season, running the offense. RJ not so much, but you can see that RJ likes to have the ball in his hands. He's actually a very productive player. He's become more productive. He's getting there. He's working his way towards that, even though he's also been a problem in the starting 5. Man, let's look at some more stats here. Citizen X, Randall's forcing shots through double and triple teams. Yep. In fact, that was exact play that I saw in that first quarter against the Magic. It was a dribble handoff, RJ to Randall. Then Randall's tried to establish, he tried to get down on the lower block, but he couldn't. He ended up being about 18 feet away, and RJ bounced past it to him, and then he just kind of walked away, kind of moved away to let him ISO, and it was just 2 Magic guys coming at Randall, and he forced the right baseline jumper, the turnaround that clanked. There was nothing there.
That's the story of the season.
Yeah. And I thought
George,
once he hit that. What?
Go ahead. No, finish your thought. I was going to shout something out in the chat.
Oh, go ahead. Let's shout out the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. We have right now 32 in the chat. That's wonderful. Citizen X, Buzz, Lex. All right. Let's see who else is there. You want to shout anybody out?
Yeah, Lex had a pretty good comment. He said Fournier said they don't play 5v5 in practice. Problem?
Yeah, they don't really practice in season that much. It's not like the way it used to be years ago with the Pat Riley Knicks.
Yeah, there's a limit to even 2-a-days preseason, so it's a different era.
Yeah, it's a different era, and there must be some kind of conditioning rationale behind that. I'm not privy to it, so I don't understand it. I find it kind of odd that they wouldn't do at least one 5-on-5 practice per game. Find time for, per week, not per game, per week. Just find some time so that the unit can kind of come up with some new elements, some new wrinkles that they can add together. But they don't. They just
against defense too. You're out there just running against air. Everybody's gonna look like a world beater. You give me 10 open threes, I knock them all down. Put a defender in front of me, and then we might have a problem.
yeah, me too. I could hit maybe 8 wide open. Oh man. Jesse's like, he wants to know about the Knicks-Verse winter beanies. Actually, I did find some, and I'll message you about it later today. Let's see here. What else we got going? Who else has posted some interesting stuff? Let's see. Still Dre. Yes, smash that like button, please, people. Thank you. Oh, Herbie Mack is in the house. Welcome, Herbie. Peter Rodriguez. All right, we got a nice group here.
Yeah, we got a solid showing.
We do.
Citizen, you mentioned Buzz, Lex, Maximum Booger. I think that's how you say it, Booger.
Booger. Okay.
Jesse.
I thought that's what it was. I was like, Boogie. All right, here we go. The Rockets last 5, Knicks last 5. Ooh, that's a lot of red L's all over.
I think they lost their last 13 or something crazy like that.
I think you might be right. At least, yeah.
I gotta double check.
Definitely
the last 13. That's why I said I'm pretty optimistic. We should all be very optimistic, because if we don't, I might have to start the next video with a red alarm sounding before I do my intro, because that's crazy.
Well, so let's discuss. Okay, so we feel pretty confident we're going to get this W. How would you like for this team to get the W today to make you feel? Well, run through the different scenarios of the different type of W's that they might get today, and what would that reveal to you?
Well, the first scenario, which is the one I would want to happen, is we go out there and we treat this like a 5v5, a 5 versus 5 practice, and run them off the court, because I think we have the talent to go out there and win soundly. It's just, are we going to show maximum effort to protect home court? Are we going to move the rock and not play the stagnant offense that we've been seeing to start this season? So I think that is the outcome of tonight's game. I think that's what we should go out there and do. But it's hard to be confident when you've seen the lackluster performance that the Knicks have walked into the Garden with. Now, the second option would be we were to go out there and not play our best, but still able to come out there with a tight win. You'll live with that as well. The Houston Rockets, I'm over here talking, crazy, saying we should go out there and beat them soundly, but they're still an NBA team. Those guys are getting checks to play the game. They put their heart and effort out there on the court as well. So for it to be a close matchup, you can live with that if we come out victorious. Now, the next two options would be us lose a close game. I would not be happy about that. That would be very disappointing. And, the last option, which I think is highly unlikely, is us going out there and getting run off our own court.
Yeah. Wow. If we lose this game in any form, in any way possible.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah. I mean, barring some bizarro things happening where, Julius gets teed up and out of the thrown, barring like half the team getting teed up and thrown out of the game. I mean, any loss here would be completely crushing, especially we're going to Chicago tomorrow.
Yep.
So that just would be totally devastating. In fact, I want to pull up that schedule.
George, if the scenario you mentioned where everybody gets tossed or something crazy like that, at that point, we are officially in the Rockets verse, because that is some Twilight Zone stuff right there.
Totally. Hey, I've seen it. I've seen Knicks do stuff like that. I mean, I watched it in the playoffs. That was a disaster against the Heat.
We've seen brawls. We've seen Amari punch fire extinguishers. Remember trying to advance in the playoffs. We've seen everything.
That's brutal. All right, here, let's look at the schedule coming up. Let me just hide this thing here for you guys. All right. So here we go. We have today's the Rockets, tomorrow the Bulls. The start times are Pacific Coast time, so don't get freaked out by that. See,
you threw me off too. I'm looking. I'm like, I got to do math now. What's 2 + 3?
It's actually a late game. It's an 8:00 game tomorrow night.
Yeah,
for you guys. Then we have the Lakers, the Suns, And it's a back-to-back with the Hawks, Suns, and then we end November with the Nets. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the Nets, Hawks, Suns, and Lakers and Bulls. Those are right now. I mean, the Lakers are struggling, but LeBron's going to be playing. LeBron, and notice how LeBron got himself. He had a couple games before he comes to the Garden.
Yeah,
he wants to come to the Garden and show off.
Yeah, and I'm going to be at the Garden to make sure. I'm not going to heckle him, but I'm going to let him be known he can't come into the Garden and disrespect us like he's done in previous seasons. But George, it gets even worse than what you're showing because you cut off a few games. After the Nets, you've got the Bulls. Then you've got Denver. San Antonio, you might be able to have a soft spot there in the lineup, but then we've got to go up against Indiana. And then, the gauntlet continues.
Yep. That's right. We have the Bulls again, but that's at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Nuggets at home. We have the Spurs on the road. Then we go on the road. Spurs, Pacers, Raptors, and then Bucks at home. Oh man, I would say though Spurs I'm not that worried about. So
yeah, that's soft spot.
So I would say even the Pacers. I think we kind of are starting to figure the Pacers out. We should never even have lost that first game to the Pacers. The Raptors game is going to be interesting. That rematch on the 10th of December.
Very interesting. You know how those guys get when we go up against them in the comment section.
They get hype. they get hostile.
Yeah, man. Knicks fans, you got to pull up to those post-game recaps when we go up against the Raptors, man. Raptors fans are going crazy. We need your support in the comment section.
Yep. Oh, Tommy Beard just tweeted out the Rockets have ruled Kevin Porter Jr. out for today.
Out. See, look. What about
so now it got even easier.
Questionable? Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, let's talk lineups. There's been a lot of discussion about the starting lineup and what should we be doing, what should we have already done, who should be starting, whether we should stick with it the way it's going because the bench unit is playing well and we don't want to disrupt that. What are your feelings about the starting lineup at the moment?
I think at some point changes are going to have to be made, but Kimba has started to show some life offensively, and as long as he's providing out there on the court and giving us some offense, he has a little bit more time to come around, I think, on the defensive end if he's able to. But if he's not able to step up his defense, then see, the thing is, if he's still scoring, it's hard to make that swap and put him into the second unit because you don't know if, one, he'll be able to step up defensively in that second unit, and two, if it'll throw off the chemistry we've seen with that second unit. You don't want to take away from one and give it to the other and then have a step back with our second unit, especially since it's been one of the best units in the league so far. So if I were going to make a move, it would be at point guard, especially because I think Fournier is talented. He can give you the same level of performance as an Alec Burks and what they can do out there on the court. They can both create off the dribble. They can both knock down the three. But I think Evan Fournier, his ceiling is higher out there than Alec Burks. And we can go try to get Evan Fournier involved. And we've seen already, if it doesn't work, we can always pivot back and put him on the bench in the fourth quarter and close with a different unit. So if I were to make a change to the starting lineup, it would be at point guard before anything else.
Okay. Because lately there's been people have been beating the drum to swap out Fournier for Burks.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that. I've been hearing it as well.
Yeah. I see the rationale behind it. Here's the thing about it. In the end, okay, so if it works, right? Do we think a team that starts Alec Burks at the small forward is a team that's going to go into the second round?
I don't believe so.
Exactly.
And that's why I wanted to keep Fournier in the starting lineup, because he has a higher ceiling. And then you move or elevate Derrick Rose with the way he's been playing. I know he had a bad turnover against the Orlando Magic, but for the most part throughout the season, he's been our most consistent and you could argue our best player. So the idea or the thought to move him into the starting lineup, we still have players on this roster that we can use to help keep his minutes down. We can still allow him to start, but not play 32, 35 minutes per game. Or we've seen McBride go crazy in the G League. He'll probably be back with the team at some point. So in a perfect world, if we have to make a change with the starting lineup, it would be elevating D Rose, still having Kemba be able to contribute with the second unit, and then have a McBride or even a Grimes as situational defenders if we need to go to them throughout the flow of the game.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Well, I mean, everybody knows by now. I decided that probably one of the best backcourts right now in the East is Rose and IQ, and I'm for swapping both backcourts. Just go with it. And this type of swap doesn't have to be a permanent switch, because they're like a combo, a duo, and then it keeps Fournier and Kemba together because they need to figure it out together. So then they can do it with the bench unit against other bench players. So I've already proposed that. It's starting to build a little momentum. I'm hearing it out there in the Knicks Twitter sphere. People are starting to see the light on that. And as we know with Thibs, it takes him a while. We'll see. I mean, in essence, that's what's been happening anyway, just not necessarily starting. But that's it. When the games are on the line, that's the backcourt he's going with. So we'll see how that continues to develop. But in light of that change not happening, the other change that could happen would be starting Obi at the 3. And we and I talked about this already. I went in detail in my last post game. If you guys didn't catch it, you should check that part out. I put the timestamp, just skip to it. There's a lot of potential upside by starting Obi, and it gets him on the court, and it forces Julius to start trying to figure out how to play with Obi on the court with him. And we still keep that rim protection because we're going to have Mitch at the 5. RJ would slide to the 2. And either one, whether you want to keep Kemba at the 1, I think that works well. I think that works well because Obi could help. When Kemba breaks down defensively, Obi has the size, the length, and the speed to help out much more so than Fournier does, and he has better instincts on it. He's been playing this defensive scheme his entire professional career because he's a Thibs defensive guy, and his defense has gone way up. So that's another possibility.
So George, in that possibility, who's playing the 4 in the second unit? You would have Fournier and Burks out there together with Quick and D Rose.
Yeah. And you could also you could also stagger it a bit where you let Obi play some of the second unit and Julius play some with the second unit at the 4. And if you really wanted to go small, then you go with Fournier and Burks together. That's a possibility.
But somewhat similar to the lineup.
You don't have to do a full hockey platoon switch.
Line switch. Yeah, line change.
Yeah.
I was saying that's similar to the lineup we had to close the game against the Magic when we were using RJ at the 4. And we went small.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it weren't for the turnovers.
We were roaring back. Yeah. We had the lead. Yeah. It was just the poor decision making on our part.
Oh, yeah. Those turnovers crush us, man. They're painful. Look at this. We don't have any players averaging over 20 points per game right now. I'm like stunned about that.
Yeah, especially with the way we started.
We started so
Fournier, what did Fournier drop in the first game? 30?
30, yeah, 32.
35 or something?
35 maybe, yeah. Julius also started off with 30.
Yeah, and look where we are now. Barely cracking 100. What were our last 2 totals? We didn't crack 100.
Nope.
Against the Magic. We didn't crack 100 against the Pacers. We didn't crack 100 against Charlotte. And we just cracked 100. We hit 100 against the Bucks.
So we haven't scored over 100 points
since November 10th.
The Sixers. Since the Sixers game. Well, we scored
over
100. Yeah, over 100. But the Sixers, and that was 103-96 against the Sixers.
Yep.
Yikes. Thank you, CL Kenrick, for your contribution. Appreciate that. We must take it out on Rockets today. Absolutely. I would love to see, for me to feel good, I want to see us punish the Rockets the way we punished the Magic in that second game of the season. That would make me feel good again. And I want to see the ball movement. I want to see, really engaged, aggressive defense. I want to see point of attack defense. I want to see Kemba and Fournier pick up the guards higher up beyond the 3-point line. There was too much with the Magic. They were already deep within our 3-point line, and Cole was breaking our defense down and finding the open guy or beating the guy and getting to the hoop. Or alley oops.
Suggs was doing the same as well.
And Suggs was doing it. Yep.
And I was talking trash about Suggs too, because he was thinking up to join until the third or the fourth quarter, and then he just started having a field day out there.
Hey, you know what? We were, the Knicks once again were kind enough to allow another player who was struggling to suddenly have a great quarter. He was, I think he was shooting 20-something% from the 3-point line. And he snapped off like 3 or 4 against us.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy because when we watched the game, I'm on a little bit of a delay from you guys. So I text you guys something about Suggs. I think saying he was sticking up the joint, and then I go back to the game, and right when I go back to the game, he hit a 3. I'm like, wow, he probably hit this 3 minutes ago for you guys, and you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. What are you watching, Quis?
I look at the per for these players. The player, what does that stand for again? The player efficiency rating. Yeah, that's what that one is. Because I confuse those with PI, which is the player impact estimate. But here, if you have over 20 is good. Right now, it's Rose and Obi. Those are the guys that are have a per of 20. Quickly is at 1536. He started off slow.
League average, right?
Yeah, it's about league average there. Yeah. Look at Mitch. Actually, let's talk a little bit about Mitch, because I thought he had a better game than got recognized against the Magic. What were your feelings about? I know Mitch is your guy.
Yeah, he was a beast in the paint to start the game. He was getting some offensive rebounds, getting some finishes in the paint. And I don't know, the thing I have with Mitch is he gets me nervous. Like that dive on the floor where they had to take him out. I think that's when we decided to go small at that point, where Mitch dived for the ball, hurt his hip, and had to be taken out. He still gets me nervous when he hits the floor. But when he's out there, you see he can be a difference maker. When he's bringing the energy, did a better job contesting their big 3-point shot in this game as opposed to previous games out there. I think Mitch played solid. We would have talked about it a little bit more if we won, because he would have been a big reason for that, at least defensively. When
he got hurt and left the game, that kind of took a lot of the air out of this the balloon that we had going there. Yeah, the team just couldn't really recover after he left the game. So that's always a good indicator of whether someone's really been contributing positively.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. Well, what happened to him? Why did he come out?
I think he fell and landed on his hip.
Yeah, but he's playing today.
Yeah, true.
Dude, get up.
And if you looked at him, he said he was okay. He was telling the training staff, "I'm fine, I'm good." And then they still didn't go with him. I guess he was a little winded as well, so they thought it was better to go the small ball route to close the game.
Yeah, that must be what they were thinking there. All right, let's have a little fun here. Let's discuss whether we think last year's starting 5 could beat this year's starting 5. What are your feelings on that in general?
I think this year's starting 5 is without a doubt more talented. But if you look at the starting 5 last season, especially during that, what was it, the 9-game winning streak we had in the middle of the season, I think we were trying to push it to 10 against the Suns, and we couldn't get it done. But if you look at that starting lineup, they played solid defense, and when you not solid, they were one of the best defensive units out there. And when you're playing that level of defense, if your shot's not falling, you still have the ability, you'll still be in position to win the game and to come out victorious. But if you look at this team, sometimes we're not giving that same defensive effort. So I think you look at the starters from last season had better chemistry. You had Reggie Bullock have a career year shooting over 40%. Alfred Payton, we've seen his contributions and what he was able to provide the team last season defensively when you compare it to what we're getting from Kemba. So I think when you look at the starting lineup, the fact that they were able to knock down threes efficiently and were able to play solid defense game in and game out, and they were always bringing it, I think they would be in a better position to win just strictly off of what we saw out there, the intangibles, not necessarily, skill to skill, because without a question, this starting lineup has more talent. And I think if we were to get the starting lineup that we saw in that Celtics game, where Fournier was able to go off, where Julius Randle was able to go off, when RJ Barrett was able to play phenomenal defense on Jason Tatum and step up and knock down big shots, if the starting lineup were to play like that, then I think they would without a doubt beat next year or last year's starters. But I can't be confident in that position because this year's starters have just not shown me the ability to bring that level of intensity game in and game out. So that's the dilemma right there for me.
Yeah, it is the intensity, the intensity that the team that last year's starters played with was just basically that's what powered the whole team. They set the tone from the start. They were able to shut other teams down for three string possessions, denials, 3 or 4 in a row. This year, the starting unit, I can't even think of a time when they stopped the team twice without the team just taking a good shot and missing. I mean, where they actually stopped them. But we should really focus on like the first 15 games or so last year compared to this year. I should have set that up ahead of time. Last year, the starting unit wasn't clicking. Reggie wasn't hitting his shot. In fact, I put out a whole like a tweet about it actually last year before I even started this channel, where Reggie was like sticking up the joint in terms of his 3-point shot, but his defense was there. Payton, he could not hit a 3-point shot. But in the beginning of the season, at least he was driving. He was at least finishing to some degree of competency. But what we had was Julius beginning to really start developing into what he later on became, his All-NBA, his All-Star type play. That's not there this year at all. And RJ was very inconsistent. He had that 21 over 21 in a row 3-point shot period, and he had two long dry spells from behind the arc in the first 2 months of the season. So that unit, and then Mitch, but Mitch was definitely, I felt he was better last season than he is this season so far.
Yep.
But the guy's, he was basically he wasn't playing for 7 months, so that takes a little while to get back into it. So the defense is the major
thing. Came back with a pit bull on his back, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, totally. But I think the biggest difference is Julius Randle. His performance has taken such a dramatic downturn compared to last season that it's making it difficult for the starting unit to figure itself out, because what was working last season for Julius is not working this season. So, they don't know where to go right now. And we have basically 3 new starters, even though Mitch was there in the beginning of last season. It's going to take them a while
for the run.
Yeah, he wasn't there for the run. Yeah, talent-wise, I agree with you. Talent-wise, it's night and day overall. But in terms of playing as a cohesive unit defensively, it's also night and day. Last year's was just much better. And everyone knows I'm not a Peyton guy. Not a Peyton guy, but what he gave defensively and his size was just something that we just don't have this season. Unfortunately, Kemba gets beat often. He gets left behind on those screens. It's just easier to screen out a little guy who's 6 feet tall over a guy who's 6'5" and with decent size like Peyton is. It's just a big difference. So it's going to be interesting to see if this starting unit can just start clicking today, because that would be really nice. Because when you look at he's shooting 37.1% field goal percentage. He's shooting 29.2% from behind the arc. 29.2%.
And Tibbs wanted him back, apparently.
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't go that route. We would have been better defensively, but I think Fournier will be able to figure it out at some point and still knock it down at 40%.
His plus minus is a minus 1.1 for Reggie. And man, Reggie's playing with Luka and KP, who's actually he's actually beginning to have a good season, which is annoying. Yeah, I'm going to compare them here, Reggie and Fournier. See if I can pull these two up. Whoa. Oh, this is interesting. Fournier is a minus 3.1 plus minus. Fournier is averaging 12.2 points per game. Reggie's averaging 6.3. Fournier is 40.6% field goal percentage. Reggie's 37.1. Fournier is 35.1% 3-point. Reggie's 29.2. So there's some big differences there, but in terms of defense, it's a whole different world.
Remember when Fournier was shooting close to 50% from 3 at one point?
Yeah.
Him and Kimba. Kimba had like 58, and I think Fournier was like 49, 50, something crazy.
See, but
look how things have turned.
Okay, now what are I have no doubt that Fournier, that his 3-point shot is going to return. I have no doubt.
Yeah, shooters don't forget to shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Look at me. I'm an old fuck now, and I can still shoot. That was the one thing I could do when I was a kid. One thing I could do when I was in 20s and my 30s, I still can do it. So that the shot doesn't leave you. Your ability to get your shot off is what really impacts. Is what changes. Rafael Berges. Randall is too moody. Annoys me. Yeah, we've talked about this.
Yeah, I don't like his body language at times.
His body language has just been, and the thing is, even if it's not necessarily what he's really feeling, but that's what's getting communicated. That's what we're seeing. That he's got to clean that up. I totally agree with that. It's annoying. It's frustrating, and the other players see it too.
And the complaining to the refs. I mean, yes, sometimes you aren't getting the calls, but don't complain to the ref and take yourself out to play heading down the court, because now you're putting your teammates at a disadvantage. Because now it's 4-on-5 heading in the opposite direction. Salute to Jesse. We gotta go catch a game at the Westchester Knicks. Let me know, Jesse, on Twitter, the schedule. I know we played 2 games. It was like the 17th and the 19th this week. The Knicks played, and I think they have a couple games next week.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah. Hopefully McBride is still down there. I don't know what Tibbs's plan is for him at the moment. If he's going to stay there for an extended period of time, or he's just going to move him up and down between the two teams.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I mean, he had a great night the other night.
Yeah, I know the Warriors do it with Moody at times.
And so did I butchered his last name last time. Is Samanchik?
I thought it was Samanik.
Samanik? I don't even think that's it either. It's something else.
Yeah. Samanik. Well, honestly, I'm not that confident, so I can't even say I think so. Luka Samanik. I think it's how it's
Luka Samanik.
That's how it's spelled, at least.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think that's how it's spelled, but the way the announcer was saying it was totally, I was like, huh?
Maybe he was wrong.
There you go. This is an interesting comment here. C.L. Kenrick. Randall needs to take over this team again.
When did he stop taking over this team? Because every time I see him get the ball, it's pretty much the team parts like the Red Sea. Everybody goes to one end of the court and they say, Randall, go do your thing, bro.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he means by take over the team.
I think what he might mean is perform at a level that he ends up being the center of the offensive universe of the team. So
Okay,
they,
so
you know,
that's what
I
you mean
think
by
that's
take
what he
over.
means by take over again. Because that, you know, remember last season, it wasn't like from the beginning. I mean, he was there, but he didn't really start establishing himself until about 3 or 4 weeks into the season as like as
The
as
alpha.
as the alpha. Yeah. So maybe that could be it. Here's the thing about that. I feel that Randall and his style of play, he'd have to play such a flawless offensive game for us to win, for him to have the ball in his hands as much as he had in his hands last season, this season. You know what I mean? Like he'd have to he can't make those turnovers. He can't, you know, not get the ball to the open guys on the perimeter when he drives, like, you know, spray the ball. If he's going to take a tough shot, he has to make it. I mean, the margin of error is much narrower this season, mostly because other than tonight's opponent, every team we're going to face now, the East is stacked and the West is solid. There's no weak spots. Where last year there were about like 7-8 teams that were weak. This year it's like what, maybe 4?
Yeah, if that.
If even. Everybody's improved. So I'm more in line with share the ball, move the ball, try to get creative. There's very little creativity in the first unit. I rarely do I see, like when Rose is up there where he like does that little side pass around the you know, his defender.
There's
to
no
get the ball.
improvisation.
There's no improvisation. Yeah, nothing.
And which is crazy because they haven't been running plays with the starters. So if there's no improvisation, what are they out there doing on the court? Standing and watching.
Exactly.
It's crazy, man.
And there was no improvisation last season in the first unit. We had a very dry first unit.
But there was movement.
There was movement, and you know, that nice 2-man game with Randall and Bullock. But we just saw it before. We saw it against the Celtics. So what? I think they might just be tight, missing their shots, and that's demoralizing them, and they're not getting back on defense. They're getting beat on defense, and then that makes them press even more on offense. It's just a bad spiral that's happening right now.
Yeah, they start to press. You can see it, you can see it in their body language, because once their shots stop falling, it's not like they decide to switch up and do something different. What they do is they just try to start shooting more threes to see if they can get into rhythm. And at times it'll work, like we saw with Alec Burks, who got, you know, on fire, even though that's not the starting lineup, but he got on fire with the second unit in that fourth quarter to help pull us back. But, you know, when our shots not falling, we really have no go-to to really pivot to. And that's the real big problem. Like you said, last season, when the three-point shot wasn't falling, we were able to pivot to Julius Randle being able to knock down a tough look. Now that's not something that's really in Julius's bag at the moment. And honestly, I don't think he should be taking the same tough shots he took last season. You said teams have gotten better in the East, but also the Knicks have gotten better. So there's no reason for us to go out there and take the difficult shot when we can continue to move the ball around throughout the shot clock, earlier on in the shot clock, not waiting until it gets down 8 seconds. And we can find a better shot out there for somebody on the starting lineup. And I think once we start getting better looks out there and start playing within the flow of an NBA offense, we're going to see these shots start to drop. It's just a matter of when, and a matter of if Tibbs is going to allow this starting unit to take as much time as they need in order to get it right. And I think he's nearing a move, not a move, but nearing he's going to make, like I said, he's going to make a move soon. I think if we can't continue to, you know, fight our way or figure things out on the court.
Absolutely. Here, I'm going to pull this up for you guys. You can see I'm pulling up some stats from Randall from last season. Sorry. You can keep talking while I'm doing this.
It's time for my monologue.
Yeah. Well, you can shout people out in the chat.
I'll talk to the chat. All right, let's see. York is saying it's a youth game with Warriors, so it's a fast-paced game. So we need to use quickly, maybe RJ, Obi, bring in Grimes, and bring back McBride. I would even put Sims at center. Well, that's Money York. Yeah, Money York. I would agree with you. I think we saw RJ looks great with the second unit, and that's because they move their pace. They move up and down the court quickly. They get out in transition, and you see Obi, you see Quick, and you see RJ all excel. And they have veteran leadership out there with Derrick Rose and when Nerlens Noel isn't healthy, and Taj Gibson to kind of keep things level-headed to the point where those young guys don't get too ahead of themselves, get too caught up in the moment, and continue to string together, boneheaded plays. So I like that unit with Rose, Quick, RJ, something that Tibbs has already mentioned is a trio of players he likes to have on the court together. And then when you add Obi's athleticism, and he was looking hungry against the Magic. So I like that from Obi. You have those four in a lineup together, and you see a lot of exciting and special plays.
Yeah, I agree. All right, look at this. This is from Cleaning the Glass. This is Randall's career stats. This is just his offensive overview. By now, you guys should know. You guys should all know that they rank everybody depending on their position. And like, for example, Julius's usage last season was 30.4%. And for a big, that's in the 98th percentile. So it's like he's right up there. Look at the points scored per attempt. This is really this is what it's all about. It's this stat. So total points scored per 100 shot attempts, field goal attempts, or trips to the line, including when fouled in the bonus. So last season, every time he put up a shot, we had an expected 114.3 points per 100, which was only good for a 42 ranking. So that's below the medium. This season, it's 102.5. That is a dramatic drop. So when the ball goes to Julius and he attempts a shot, we can only expect to score 102.5 points per 100. That is terrible, especially for someone whose usage rate is still in the 89th percentile, 28.7%. So that tells me he's got to move the ball. That's the only way to get out of that situation. When the ball sticks with him, the offense gets clogged up, gets jammed up. We don't end up getting good looks. Too much of the clock gets used up, and then it forces bad shots at a certain point, whether by him or whoever else the ball ends up going to. That's a tough.
And you heard Fournier make note of it when he said, the ball has to move. It sticks.
Yeah. Look at Randall's PSA back in 2017-18, 122.2, 76 percentile.
Yeah, 120.5.
Yeah. I mean, that's so his game has really changed over the years. Let's see, I'm going to pull something else up for us.
For better and for worse as well, because now he's knocking down the three, which is phenomenal, but now he's being a ball hog.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say a ball hog. He's being more so a ball stopper.
Yeah.
I don't really see him going and demanding a ball. If you're a ball hog, you got to go demand the ball and then hold it forever.
True. I mean, there was a little bit of a stretch where he was doing that, but I think that he finally went away from. Yeah. All right, so here we go. This is the his shot accuracy per area on the floor. So his three-point shot is, it's gone down this season, which we all expected. He's at 36% overall, which is still good for a 57 percentile ranking. So that's his three-point shot hasn't actually been the problem. The problem has been the mid-range game. Look at it. He's down to 33% overall mid-range, which is for 27th percentile. Remember, this is the guy who's the ball is in his hands more than any other player on this team while he's on the court. So he's the one who's making the majority of decisions. The long mid-range, 26%, which we talked about, 30%. But The short mid-range game, it's ticked up a little bit, 41%. Actually, it's down, but see, it's the difference between when you're a big or a forward, it affects your ranking.
Mm-hmm.
But the rim efficiency, it finally has gone up a little bit, which is really nice, 61%, but still only a 46 ranking. His field goal percentage, 47.8% for a 30 ranking. So our engine, our offensive engine is sputtering. So when we need to go uphill, like I wouldn't want to drive him around San Francisco.
He's going to stall out.
He'll be stalling out. Exactly. That's a rough situation right there.
I stalled out a little bit earlier, actually. I was moving the car in the driveway, my car's stick, and I haven't driven it in a while, and I kind of forgot how to use the left foot a little bit, but I got it back.
Your nice Beamer?
Yeah, it was not nice right now. I haven't driven it in a while through the pandemic, so I got to get some work done on it.
I barely drive anymore. I work at home now, and I'm doing all this stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, man.
True.
Hey, welcome, Eddie. First time here. Welcome to Into the Knicks-Verse with Quis and George. We're doing a pregame.
Salute, Eddie. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, salute. Let me pull up something else here from you guys. What else? What any other topics you want to touch on right now?
You have a super chat you might want to mention, and also Jose's funny. He said that schedule shows we are about to come out with like 10 L's in a row.
Yeah,
which makes this win tonight that more important because we do have a tough stretch. I don't think it'll be 10 L's in a row, but if we go 500, I'd be happy. Or game over 500, I'd be cool with it.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. We needed to get the wins in the early part of the season because of the stretch that's coming up now. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. Yeah.
I mean, unless we're going to have another D Rose trade come in to really energize this team.
Ooh, I'm not ready to talk trades. Yeah.
I'm not saying talk.
Yeah,
trades.
I know what you mean.
That's the only way we'd be able to really mirror what we did last season. Last season, we had the D Rose trade. He came in and gave us that spark. Right now, the only internal options would be Grimes and McBride, and for some reason, Tibbs doesn't want to use them more.
Well, that's a whole other thing that I launched into in my last post game, which is if Steve Kerr, with the number one team in the league right now, again playing against the Nets, I think it was in Brooklyn, and it was a tight game at the halftime. If he could have used 12 players in the first half, why can't Thibs do the same with this squad that's struggling? Find time for Grimes. I mean, Deuce wasn't on the bench that particular night, but when he was, find time for Deuce. Let Sims have a few minutes out there, so that, Mitch, so we have at least some height out there, some athleticism, he's a lob threat. He's a rim runner. He kind of gives you a little bit of what Mitch gives you, so we don't have such a big drop off. And I think those minutes over time will pay themselves off later on in the season. We've talked about this many times. Yep. Right now, we're not set up that way. He used Grimes twice in key moments, and I thought it was actually successful when he did it. Surprised he just hasn't done more of it, honestly. Yeah, it may have coincided with, I mean, Burks did finally start. Burks has been playing better recently, so that could
especially coincide. On the defense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to shout that out. Burks' defense has been, I would say, pretty. I mean, that second unit, Burks and IQ's perimeter defense has been fabulous. Rose is, he's.
I don't know about fabulous. Well, IQ's the reason RJ got dunked on.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. He got burned.
That was crazy.
The players get burned, Good players. Yeah, it happens. But overall, IQ's defensive rating has been pretty solid. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up for us. So do you know it off the top of your head?
Top of my head, no. I can Google it.
Yeah.
Use the Google.
But he has been playing some solid perimeter defense, but Burks definitely has. And that's
another
really
thing
helped.
I don't like about defensive rating. There's two different ratings. Like NBA.com has their rating, and then StatMuse has their rating.
Yeah,
Throws me off.
Slightly different. It's slightly different. Yeah. Okay. So, CL Kenrick wrote, "That's exactly what I meant. I drop a 44 point game." Jay ran. Yes, I would love for that. I would love for anybody on these our Knicks to drop a 44 point game.
Who do you think would be liable to? Who do you think would be most likely to drop a 40-point game? I think Julius Randle, we would think, would be the first option. But outside of him, who else do you think could be able to drop 40 in the game?
I think Kemba. Like Kemba could drop 40, but first of all, the ball's in his hands. If he got off to a hot start, I mean, that game where he scored, what was it, 16, 17 in the first quarter?
Wasn't it 18?
Or 18? Was it 18? Something like that.
I believe it was 18, something in that ballpark. Or 19.
Yeah, he could have come out in the third quarter, and lit it up, and then he would have closed the game. He could have gotten a 40-point game. I mean, he was on course for that. The other guy who could do it is RJ. RJ could do it because when he is on, I mean, he just sometimes he just doesn't miss. But lately, it hasn't been him.
Yeah, it hasn't been the case.
Yeah,
I think Fournier, when he finally figures it out, can do it because we already saw what he can do in game one, and that was when they quote unquote didn't have chemistry. So imagine once this offense start clicking. But I agree with you with Kemba. He knocks down a lot of threes when he gets good looks, and a hot night from him could put him in that 40-point territory. And yeah,
so look
RJ's gonna have to do it from three.
Look at what we've just said. We've just highlighted 3 different starters who could each get a 40-point game.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna come, guys. It's gonna come. These guys are professionals. Fournier, he's a bucket. He is just not feeling it right now, but at any moment it could click and he could just light on fire. Same with Randall. Randall could too. If his mid-range game started returning, he could easily get a 44-point game. In fact, that's how he got that. He hit a bunch of threes, but he was owning the Hawks from the right baseline in that game. Let's see some other. See here. All right, let's shout out the chat a little more here. Mary Holmes
is saying all we need is a 20-piece.
That's true. That is all we need. Oh man, thank you, Lex. Rick Pennington, welcome. I'm waiting on the
Raphael Burgess is saying. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just waiting on the consistency to kick in. You and me too, brother. Same.
Has anybody been consistent? I think Rose would probably be the most consistent, but I don't think anybody's really been consistent game in and game out.
Yeah, you're right. I think Rose has been the one who's been consistent.
Oh, we just did it.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that one.
I was going to click on this one, but then a new comment came in and it jumped out, but that would have been a good one to put up here. This one here.
Yeah, I was going to speak about Raphael. Yeah, Rose is most likely to drop 40.
That'd be nice for him to do that. I think Rose has the best pi per and plus minus. That is absolutely right on this team. Rose has been, man.
Rose is our MVP.
Do you think if Leon and Thibs thought Derek was going to play this well, that we would have made the trade for Kemba? Or
I don't think they would have relied upon Derrick Rose to be the starter heading into the season. I think you look at his history and trying to monitor his minutes. I don't know if they would have put all their eggs in the Derrick Rose basket just to, hedge in case something were to happen throughout the season. But what was interesting, though, if they have that mindset, why would they go after, Kemba, who's in a similar situation with his knee? So they paid Derrick Rose a pretty decent amount of money. What did he get? 14 mil, I think, per season.
Yeah,
average annual value.
Something for yeah. He's our backup point guard is getting paid more than our starting point guard.
Yeah, which says a lot. Our backup center is getting paid. I think almost 6 times more than our starting center. But he's on a rookie contract still, so
Mitch is just tremendous value right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Mitch get the bag at some point, or at least a bag of some type.
See, the thing is, though, you look at what some of these guys are doing that have similar contracts, like Wendell Carter Jr. He's been having a solid season, averaging close to a double-double, if not already there. And if you're gonna look at Mitch and look at the comparables, like real estate, you're buying a house, you look at the comparables, see what's going on in the market. You're gonna sign a center, you're gonna look at the comparables. Well, Wendell Carter Jr. is doing what he's doing so far this season, and although Mitch has been a big factor for us defensively, he's not really giving us similar productions as a Wendell Carter Jr. on the offensive side of the court. So you have to weigh that when you're going to negotiate. Are you going to pay him 10 to 12 million like a Wendell Carter Jr., like a Robert Williams, who have been statistically having better seasons? Or are you going to say, hey, even for the 10 or 12 million dollars, the value that Mitchell Robinson is providing this team defensively is worth it, and it's going to be hard for us to find a replacement? That's going to be a very interesting spot for this team to be in heading into the offseason.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's going to be really interesting, that whole thing. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that.
Yeah.
Welcome, right. Foxy. Tomorrow, salute, Foxy. Tomorrow we'll be doing a pregame show on Sports Vibes TV with Foxy. The three of us.
Special syndicate show.
Yep. Special.
Showing like a movie.
Yeah. Kemba probably won't play tomorrow against the Bulls due to back-to-back. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I want to see that. Honestly, when would you prefer to rest him? Would you have preferred to rest him against this Rockets team, or would you prefer to rest him in a more difficult game?
I would play him today. I'd play him today and rest him tomorrow. If you're going to do that, that's what I would do, because he still needs to get in rhythm. He still needs to work stuff out. It's better to work stuff out against the weakest team in the league.
Weakest team.
Yeah.
But then now you're looking at us going up against a Chicago Bulls team shorthanded, especially when you see the guards they have on that team, and Lonzo and DeRozan, and also Zach LaVine. I don't know why I said his name last. I should have led with him.
So you love Lonzo.
He's been solid on defense, man. He's been having a record year from the 3-point line.
Hey, we just got to shout this out, man. Both you and I were on the same page in terms of what the point guard solution should have been for this season. And it was Lonzo Ball.
Yep. He's
the right age. He's on an upward trajectory. His best years are ahead of him. He plays excellent defense. He's big. He's huge. He's similar in a lot of ways to what Elfrid Payton was. Yeah, but he's a much better 3-point shooter and a creator. He's a creator. He creates for teammates. So but they just didn't want to pay that money. And also, who knows if we actually ever even had a chance to get him.
Yeah. They're about to fine the Bulls, like $10 million or some crazy figure.
Yeah.
For tampering.
Yeah, long-term salute. Yeah, Adrian. Yeah, that's what we were thinking. Because when you look around the landscape, I mean, who else is out there? Who else is out there in terms of young point guards that you're going to?
You don't really have young point guards out there. That's why Lonzo, that's like a quarterback hitting the market. You don't really see that too often.
Exactly. That is like that. Yeah, he's like.
And the reason Lonzo hit the market is because they didn't, the Pelicans didn't even draft him. They traded for him, and they felt they had a player in Zion that could be ball dominant and kind of take Lonzo out of the situation, or take the ball out of Lonzo's hand, even though Lonzo's not really running the show in Chicago. But they felt they had Zion. They drafted Kara Lewis. I guess they thought they were set at point guard and allowed Lonzo to go on his way.
Yeah. SGA, I love SGA, but he's not available.
Not available.
That's the other part. We were also talking about like guys that are actually available, realistic.
Mm-hmm. Takes two to tango in a trade.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, this guy, Anthony. Yeah,
I got him in fantasy too.
Yeah, I saw him in his first summer league. My son and I were like, man, this guy's good. He's going to be good. It took him a while. He was a baby. I think he was like 18 or something when he first played. So it took him a while. See, some of these guys, it takes a while for that to start clicking for them. You know, unfortunately, the Knicks organization doesn't have that kind of patience. But salute Worldwide L. Thank you for joining us, brother. So shout out to the Smoking Nick, Eddie, joining us for the first time. Crow Noir. Let's see what he wrote here. I love that name. Overhyped. Lonzo Ball overhyped. DeRozan is the one carrying the Bulls. All right. Well,
but we don't need Lonzo to carry us. We need him to do his part, and that's what he's doing over there in Chicago. He's playing solid defense. I think he's up there in the leaderboards in both steals and blocks. He's shooting over 40% from three, and that's exactly what we need on this team. Somebody that's going to play defense and move the ball when it comes to them, or if they have a good look, take the three and knock down the shot. And if you look at what Tibbs needs in his point guard, a prototypical point guard in his system, Lonzo is a perfect fit in terms of his size and the ability to play defense for an entire game. You know, and it would have been great too, because Lonzo also gets things going in transition. So imagine Lonzo out there on the court with an RJ, with an Obi, with a Quick, with a Mitch. It would have been dangerous.
Yeah. What?
The Bulls got something very unique. They have three guards.
Why didn't
nice size?
Why didn't we go after Lonzo? Why was there never? I mean, there was all the talk and speculation was amongst us. There was never ever a leak or anything saying that
there
Knicks
was some inklings here and there that Bagley and Berman, you know, dropped, but nothing that was really cut in stone saying, look, here we have this leak. These are the plans for the Knicks this offseason, and Lonzo is high on their list.
Yeah. Deuce, I hope that they bring him back for tomorrow's game, because we're gonna need him, because you guys are right.
Because we're not gonna have Kemba. If Kemba's not gonna play,
yeah,
be a perfect opportunity.
We don't know if he's not. We don't know if he's not.
That's an if.
But if he's not, then we should have Deuce on the bench. Absolutely. That would be a big mistake not to. Let's see here. We got a great chat discussion going here.
Raphael saying we never had a chance at Lonzo.
Who said that?
Raphael, he's saying we never had a chance at Lonzo because the Bulls tampered.
That could be the truth. That could be the truth. It's going to cost them an additional 10 mil for that.
And draft compensation too, I think. The draft, they might lose a draft pick.
Is that what happens too?
They might, I'd have to look a little further into it, but 10 mil is a lot too. That's a hell of a fine.
That's a hell of a fine. I think that's you're right. It is going to be draft picks too. Oh man. Well, predictions.
Luckily it's not us.
Score predictions. It was a disaster last time we did this. Game. I was so off.
Yeah, we were all off because we all predicted a win, right? And we ended up losing.
Yeah.
And then I think I was closest in score total, but we scored less than 100. I think both teams.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
Score predictions. I mean, I hope we go out there and set the record for most points in a victory. But if I'm going to be realistic, I think the offense finds a groove. 110-97.
110-97. I like that. Nice.
I came here. I said the Knicks should have come into this game and be able to walk away with a pretty easy win. So that's my prediction.
All right. There's no Kevin Porter Jr.
Yep.
I'm predicting 121-89. Knicks blowout.
All right. Okay. So that means I get to start responding on my phone then. Halfway through the game, if we're going to win by that much, by that margin of victory.
Nice blowout. You know, we'll even rest a lot of guys in the second half.
That'll be big too with that Chicago Bulls matchup. One thing I fear though is that we're looking. I mean, I don't think it'll happen with a Tibbs team, but my biggest fear is we're looking past the Houston Rockets, who are on a 13-game losing streak, and more, focused on the Chicago Bulls matchup on Sunday, because that's going to be a marquee matchup on a Sunday. Everybody's home after church, or whatever.
Yeah, it's the big game
you follow. Or the case
it's the big NBA Sunday night game.
99 to 101.
You know what?
I wish,
Frederick. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. Sign me up for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shoot, if we hit 150, I might go live and just chop it up with you guys until we hit 999.
Wait, here we. Sorry, Foxy. I love this. Air Force One.
Out the window we go. It looks like that toupee is about to go out the window too.
Yeah. Love that one. Yeah, I hope we're not looking forward to I don't think this team. I think possibly if we had won the other night against the Magic, maybe there could be a slight let up and it could hurt us, because any team can get hot any night. So even though Rockets have lost, I think, what did you say, 13 in a row?
13, yeah.
Well, at some point they're going to win a game, but it ain't going to be today.
Yep.
Not today. Preach. Not today. No way.
Yeah, they need to pick on the Thunder or something.
Yeah. Here we go. 112 to 99. I think we're going to keep them under 90. It's going to be one of those games. Let's hope.
So we'll be celebrating. I'll be able to enjoy my Saturday night. That sounds good.
Yeah, man. I know. Oh man. I tell you, this losing, just not used to it. Because we
at all
from like
wait, what are you talking about? This losing, you're not used to it. What?
No,
you threw me off for a second.
Well, last
I'm not gonna say I'm used to losing, but I've been familiar.
But since February, since we went on that streak, that 9-game streak, and then won 12 out of 13 and went into the playoffs, and then summer league we owned, and preseason we were looking, and then we started off 5-1. I forgot what sustained losing was about, because I
wish my memory was that short, George. I can remember it. It was my whole adolescence. It's stuck with me. Childhood memories.
God, I want so badly for this team to win consistently, for you guys, for your generation, because when they were doing it in the 90s for me, or when I was even much younger, it was such a great feeling, man. The whole city well, you guys saw it you saw it was in the playoffs. It's like that the whole time. Yeah, it's just fabulous, man.
The city's different when the Knicks are good.
Yes. Totally. It's almost like we are the heartbeat. This team is the heartbeat of the soul of the city in terms of its tonality and mood. Yeah, when they're losing, especially when all the other teams are not, all the other professional teams are struggling. More of the burden falls upon the Knicks.
The Knicks, yeah.
Mr. Durante, 120 to 105. I'm good with that. A 15-point win. Nice. I want to see it thrashing. Well, see, that's the thing about this offense. If it starts clicking and can sustain it for a whole game, this team can score 130 points. I mean, easily.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We've seen it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that was in overtime, though, but
that wasn't a double overtime. Yeah. But we have honestly, at this point, if we get over 100 points, we should be able to win.
It's a celebration. Yeah.
101 will get us a W.
God, this is and it'll put us on the right track. We're back over we're eclipsing 100 points, going up against the Chicago Bulls, where we're going to need all the firepower we can get. We got to get back on track. Worst thing you want is for us to go out there and put up a stinker and then have to turn around and go up against the Chicago Bulls. That would ruin my weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be too much. That'd be too much to handle. Oh, but with this team,
recaps on that. Oh yeah.
This is such a bizarre team. This is such a bizarre team. I could see us losing today and then destroying the Bulls tomorrow. It's such a weird team. Yeah. That game the other night against the Magic, what was the word we kept sharing with each other? Weird, odd. It didn't seem like it was the same team we'd been watching. Almost like they had no identity. I'm talking about the first unit mostly. And when they gave up that lead at the end of the first half, that was a harbinger of doom to come. And there it was. We just never recovered.
I think I texted you. I said, "What a terrible way to end a half."
Yeah,
brutal.
You did.
What was that? Like 6 quick points just to go into halftime. I was like, my gosh.
Yeah. So how we close out the first half is going to really reveal a lot in terms of what's going to happen in this game, I think, because that second unit is tight. It's playing beautiful basketball. Just need that first unit to do its job. If they do its job, this team's going to get back to winning.
I mean, George, you mentioned that we don't have a identity, but I think when other teams are game planning against the Knicks, they think we do have an identity. We are, we allow teams to get leads to start games, and in third quarters, we allow teams to fight back and claw, and take leads. Also, we have the identity right now. We're allowing players to either have career games or career quarters against us, and in order for us to have an identity, is something that you have to do consistently. And all the things I've mentioned just now are things the Knicks have continued to do, with, consistently. And that's going to have to change. Now would be a good game to kind of start and get back on track. And I think the Knicks should be able to come out with an easy victory. Hopefully, they don't make me, look like a fool on here.
Let's hope. Yeah, I'd like to be doing a recap. I'd like to be doing a recap about a win. That'd be fun. Doing the recaps for losses just sucks.
You don't want to bash your own team. I mean,
it's rough. It's rough. Your back's all tense. You're just like everything. You look at all the stats. You're like, oh, look at that. Look at that. It's just everything. It's just it's like looking at a crime scene.
Yes.
It's bad.
Like an episode of Dexter trying to diagnose the Knicks' loss.
Yeah. I love. Oh man, I'm hooked on Dexter. I never watched it when it was on live. I haven't. I started from the beginning this summer. I'm going all the way through. Fantastic. Definitely is a great series. Not that has anything to do with the Knicks.
Wasn't a great ending, but
I don't want to.
I got to binge watch it to catch up.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
You didn't finish still?
I'm in beginning season 6.
Copy. Yeah. All right. I keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Don't ruin it for me. All right. So, Quis, any last thoughts before we wrap this up? Because I think the game starts in about 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'm about to
5
order
o'clock
some food. I think this team is going to go out there and give me a good performance for me to enjoy while I'm enjoying the rest of my Saturday. This team, I think, has the talent to blow the Houston Rockets out the water, run them off the court. And as long as they are given 100% intensity, 100% effort out there for 48 minutes, the Houston Rockets should not be able to compete with us. We just got to make sure we don't allow Christian Wood to go off. He has the ability to knock down the outside shot. Bigs shooting bigs have been an issue, whether it been Turner. What was it? Batazde? That's how you say his name.
Yeah,
he had a pretty solid showing the first game against the Pacers against us. So just make sure Christian Wood doesn't have a field day against us, and I think we should be fine.
I agree. I think we should be fine. We should be fine today. The question is how we win. I want to see a convincing win. I want to see Fournier. I want to see Fournier get 19 points. I'd like to see Julius get over 20. I'd love to see RJ get about 20. Kemba can give us his nice 14 points or whatever, and the second unit will do their thing like they've been doing. And I think that'll be a 120. What did I say? 121 to 89. Yeah, that'll be that kind of a win. So that's what I'm hoping for. I believe it. Let's fingers crossed. And then tomorrow, that's going to be a huge game. I'm really looking forward to that Bulls rematch. Because we won that game, but the Bulls they're actually a better squad now than they were back when we first played them.
And they almost were able to come back and take the victory from us. So it'll be an interesting matchup. They want blood.
Yeah. And that's a great point.
We got to take the bull by the horns. You know,
in terms of the identity, you're right. I mean, I meant positive identity, but we do have an identity, which is a team that can't hold on to leads and gives up huge leads. But we're able to claw back, but we don't always have enough in the tank left to overcome, except for that one game against the Bucks.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's turn that around. Let's start writing a new narrative. Let's start writing a new narrative where this team is relentless for 48 minutes, just relentless defense, that they constantly are challenging players out on the perimeter. And when someone comes into the paint, they feel it. That's the team I want to see. That's the winning strategy. Let's hope that happens. And all right, well, thanks so much for checking in with us and watching this. Let's hope for a big win today. I feel pretty good about it. Shout out to the chat, everybody. David L, Ashley Inc. 1, Buzz, CL Kendrick. Anyone else you want to shout out?
Yeah, you mentioned them. David L, Crow Noir, Ashley Inc. 1, Raphael, David L, Eddie, the usuals, Mr. Durante. Did I say it correctly? Durante?
Yeah, Durante. Yeah.
All right,
that's
cool,
correct.
cool.
That's correct.
Get my Spanish up there.
Yeah, you got to practice your Spanish.
Poquito.
Poquito. we want un poquito points for the Rockets.
Sí.
Yes.
Muy bien. Gracias.
Mucho grande points for the Knicks. All right, guys. See you around. Oh, and I'll be doing a recap after the game. See you around the Knicks-Verse.